Well, obviously, you listened to the minister, a maiden
Finance.
discussion with the press. And what are the key takeaways for you? Are you more excited after hearing her more or less roll out the broad economic objectives of this administration?
I'm not more excited, to be honest with you. She has repeated exactly what I expected her to say, which are the broad objectives. What I was looking out for were specifics as to how are you going to accomplish these things. There's a long timeline or time lag between fiscal policy and results. But what I was looking out for, what is different? The objectives which she has stated today are almost identical to the objectives that were stated by previous administrations. What we are looking out for is how is she going to do it and execute it differently so that the results can be accomplished within the shortest possible time.
So obviously silent on the how,
Yes.
but you're giving her class. Obviously, everybody talks a lot about what she was able to achieve while she was finance minister during the Obasanjo days, and there's a huge expectation that, giving her clout, more so with the World Bank, that she'll be able to deliver this time. What are your general thoughts on how she can bring to bear her position at the World Bank in achieving results this time?
No, I think what is important, she has a track record, which is good.
So that's equity that
Yes.
she can leverage on.
She has a network coming from the multilateral agencies, right? And then she has a fiscal discipline mindset. So those three things work. But the problems of Nigeria today are that of execution and transformation of the institutions to make the institutions stronger. That is where we would like to hear specifics. It's early days, so and she said she's not coming with a magic wand. So but the patience is short. There's a lot of pressure. She alluded to the fact that the global economy was in difficulty, but we also have our country-specific problems. So when you take the structural problems that Nigeria is facing today, which is what she has to address, and taken together with the cyclical problems that the world is addressing, the convergence of both is a perfect storm.
Let's talk a bit about some of those local issues. Obviously, because of the federal system that we have issues on the state level. For instance, we've seen some of the governors clamoring for more revenues, now touching plans to launch a sovereign wealth fund. And then that seems to be under some threat now, even though she's mentioning that there's some dialogue in that regard. But then also we have unrest in the north with the Boko Haram thing, and of course in the south we've seen restiveness by militants in the oil sector. So what are your thoughts on, in this context, how you achieve some of these objectives?
Let me say, personally, and I can speak probably for the minister, what is required in circumstances like this is adjustments. There are two types of broad adjustments. There's a fiscal adjustment, which he has alluded to and talked about, trimming spending and all the other things. But the most important adjustment is the mental adjustment, and which is the psychological adjustment. The governors who are speaking are under the illusion that Nigeria is a rich country and that all that we have to worry about is how to share money, whilst the fiscal policymakers are fully aware of the task before them, that they have to deal with many significant strategic issues. So how she conveys and carries these people along to educate them as to the fiscal imperatives, that means that everybody has to be on board, is the main challenge of our. So one, she has to convey the message and alter the mindsets of all parties, states, federal, subnational, national, and all of that, local governments. The other thing is to actually begin to execute. But what she has going for her is that she has credibility, so which means that whatever she's saying, people will believe, at least in the short run, right? Then we can begin to see results. But this task is quite, a great task which she has to deal with. She needs all the efforts and all the luck.
And I think she's obviously agreed to that point, more so when she said that there is no magic wand to solving Nigeria's problem.
No.
But what are your thoughts on the threat of the global, what it seems to be an impending crisis or economic weakness, clearly, on a global scale, and the threat on that on the Nigerian economy and obviously any reform agenda that anyone is bringing to the table today?
No, the threat is that in a cyclical downturn, global cyclical downturn, the demand for commodities begins to decline as they make their own adjustments. If the demand for commodities decline and oil prices drop below a particular threshold, then we have to start making adjustments. But in all cases, except oil drops below, say, $80 or $75 a barrel, or maybe 70, we are not going to have to make some very, very drastic adjustments. But adjustments are adjustments. You know, you're going to have to tweak things like your spending. You might have to increase your borrowing. I saw that she wants to keep borrowing low and all of that. But the truth is that Keynesian economics tells you that the way out of a recession, especially if it is global, is that you have to spend your way out of it and spend efficiently and effectively, quality of spending, and you also may have to borrow your way out of it. If on one hand you are trimming spending, which is the quantum of spending, and at the same time you are trying to actually use the counter-cyclical model to come out of a recessionary threat, then there's a contradiction there. That has to be resolved. The issue is not on the quantum of money being spent, because we are not spending enough, but it is the quality of spending. We have spent a lot and we got nothing out of it. So that's number one. Number two is to reduce the amount of fiscal dominance. The government is too dominant in this economy. It's not going to happen overnight, but we've got to shift away from that. And thirdly, we have to increase productivity of the masses. People are highly unproductive. So when you have a highly indebted country with low productivity, right, and a myriad of other problems coinciding at the same time with a global crisis, then your work is cut out for you. That is the job before the Minister of Finance and the economic team.